Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Drew Hall, and you are listening to or watching episode 10 of The Platform. Today, I'm joined by a special young man. I got to coach him in seventh grade and have known him since he was a baby. Aiden Cornutt. Aiden, how are you, brother?
I'm good. What about you?
Hey, man, just enjoying Thanksgiving break. That's the nice thing right now. So,
Eating all the
about to
goodies.
go eat some turkey here in a little bit. It's going to be good.
There.
So Aiden is a senior at Glencoe High School. Um, Plays basketball and soccer, right? That's your two.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what I thought. I couldn't remember if they talked you into going to play football this year or not.
Not exactly.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, Aiden, man, thanks for being a part of this. Let's just start off. I'm just kind of open it up to you. Tell everybody your testimony and how you came to know Jesus.
Yeah, so I've been around the church my entire life. I've grown up in church. We bounced around a few places around Glencoe, North Glencoe, First Baptist Church Glencoe. Um, and then we moved out to Birmingham, and that's where I fell into Church of the Highlands. And that's where I was 8 years old in the kids ministry, and I got saved there. But just recently, actually, I found myself, dealing with a lot of anxiety and identity issues. Going into my junior year, and so that's where I kind of was like, okay. And around December, I was like, well, what do I need to do in my life? Like, where am I going with this? And then in January, we did a 21 days of prayer and fasting, and so that's where I just put like all the social media. I put all social media and sports kind of to the side and just let God talk to me and let God speak. And that's where I rededicated my life to Jesus and just jumped all in and gave him everything and put him above everything else. And over the past few months, that's developed. I'm serving at such a different capacity now. I'm serving in the church, and God is just helping me through my life, and I'm seeing him move in so many different ways, and it's amazing.
Man, that's awesome. Kind of want to ask you a few follow up questions on that.
Yeah.
Anxiety and depression is something that a lot of people struggle with now. You're seeing more of that come out. Just kind of, what did that look like for you? And kind of, because I know you said that was a big catalyst that led you, to rededicating your life.
Yeah, so for me, and a lot of it came from sports. Like I worked so hard at sports, and like I kind of based like how good my day was going off of how good my performance in sports was, and and it kind of started to creep into like with my friends and stuff too. I was always like kind of worried that, I had to win the approval of other people when I was always trying to win the approval of other people, and and whenever I downloaded Instagram and Snapchat, I didn't get those until I was 16. But I downloaded them and I noticed an immediate I was on those things all the time and I was always thinking about them and it was just crazy. Like the things that you see on Snapchat, like the way that it affected me was crazy. Like I found myself being like, why hasn't this person snapped me back in 10 minutes like that? And
Yeah.
I was always worried. I was like, because they're snapping them, but they're not snapping me, so they must not like me. Like that's just how my mind is operating. It was like my mind was never at rest. And I even went to therapy for it. I went to Noonday over here in Rainbow City, and I let them work on me, and that helped for a little bit, but overall it never really went away. And then with sports stacked on top of that, that kind of just made it worse, because if I don't perform good, well, then I'm not going to start the next game. The coach isn't going to like me, and then my teammates are going to blame me for everything that happens, and I'm the whole reason, the entire reason we lost. And I also want to play college, so if I don't play good this game, there's probably a coach out there. It's like, if you can't play like this versus a 3A school, then how are you going to do this versus D1 recruit? That's just and my mind was never stopping, and I never thought I was enough. And that's why I hit that season 21 days of prayer. And second or third day, they gave a message, and I was kind of just like, man, this is really the only thing that matters. As long as this is, if I have Jesus, then everything's okay. I don't need to worry about any of that. And it's all great. And that, in that moment, that day, I remember leaving the church. It's in the morning, so you go 6 a.m. to 7, and I had to run to school. But I remember feeling so much lighter that day. And I was like, this is it. This is where I'm at. This is who I'm supposed to be.
Man, that is so awesome and so true. Um, Anxiety is something that I dealt with too. And you feel those things. It just feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And,
Mm-hmm.
it also, when you struggle with, if you mess up, you think people hate you and don't like you and all
Yeah.
those things. And your brain doesn't cut off. And dude, I
Mm-hmm.
feel that 100%. When I was coaching and Gina was sick and all that, I felt every word that you just said. And so I completely understand that. But it is that feeling, when you lay it all over to the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
that instant peace
Yeah.
where it's true surrender, and you said, okay, I'm good. Like that's one of the best feelings, if not the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And so that's dude, that's so good. And I love how you talked about, going to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, that was one of the hardest things for me, as an adult, was, finding somebody to talk to and admitting like, hey, I need somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome, that you're learning that at such a young age, because there's a lot of pressure for your generation. Snapchat and TikTok and Instagram is a 24/7 business.
Yeah. It's wild.
It is, but they're good tools. They're good
Mm-hmm.
tools to share the gospel,
It
which
definitely
is
is
what.
good.
Yep, and that's what we're using this for. All right, Aiden, let's kind of shift gears a little bit. Who are some people that have made an impact on you in your walk with Jesus?
Yeah, so most of them, probably my parents, my mom and my dad have both been huge for me. They've never been parents where they've been condemning towards me. They've never like I don't get grounded a whole lot, but because they want me, they don't like give me a harsh punishment because they've always told me like if you mess up, I want us to be the first person that you call. Like I don't ever want you to be afraid of getting punished or have a fear of being like something taken away from you because you did something wrong. Like we want to help you and we want to be there for you. And they have helped me through some of my personal struggles in my walk with Christ. Like whenever I've encountered an issue, they've always been there to help me. They've bought me tools. And they've just been there for me for moral support. They've fed me spiritual truths that I knew that most. Um, and along with them, just some of the pastors and the leaders that I've met at our church, Drake Watkins and Chapman Smith, they're my student pastors. They're both great leaders, and they are so inspiring to me. The way they lead is just amazing, and they're always reaching out, giving me opportunities to serve, and they're always filling me up as well, and just helping me to serve at that capacity.
Man, that is good. It's always good to have those people. I've talked to different kids on here, and they said, your parents are important, and they're, kind of that first line, of defense for you.
Yeah,
But you also need those people who aren't your parents,
yeah,
that you can talk to that's not mom and dad. And so having a student pastor or two student pastors like that, like you
mm-hmm.
said, is so important. But man, just you kind of said, you love how they lead. Can you kind of give me an example of that? Like, what you're talking about, how do they lead that really stands out to you?
Yeah, so every year, and just this is one of the bigger things. They go on a mission trip, and every year they choose some students to bring, and they just like they're not just picking students and then sending them. Like they're going with them, and they're going out and doing the things. And one thing that I see, and that I see from hanging around them a lot, is that they don't just preach; they practice what they preach, and everything that they say on stage, you see them live it out in their life, and they are always like picking students up. Like I've never seen like a sad student around them. Like it's weird. Like they all like their vibe. Like they just speak positivity and peace over everyone, and they make everyone better at what they do. Like whether we're setting up for students night on Wednesday or we're helping the church on Sunday set something up. Like they are always right in the middle of it, like helping everybody and making everyone better around them.
Man, that's that servant leadership, and it's
Mm-hmm.
great to see that. And it's awesome that you notice that too.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something that you can model your leadership after too, because you're starting to get those opportunities, right? You've got your
Yeah.
share at FCA a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
How was that getting to talk in front of your peers?
Yeah, it's definitely a little nerve wracking for sure. Just because like I know these people, but Coach Talbot had us do some dodgeball game before, and I was kind of like enjoying it, but I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready to get this over with, like to get on with this. And then they also had breakfast that I ate, which was a terrible idea. Because, like, you know, whenever I get nervous, my stomach's all, like, rumbling. And so I felt like I was about to throw up right there in front of everybody. But they told me it was good, so.
That's all. I'm sure it was, man. And, you know, listen, if you throw up in front of people and you can lead somebody to Jesus, man, it's all downhill after that.
Yeah. You have a good story. You have a funny story.
You would have a good story. That is true. All right. Let's ask you this one. You know, how has you kind of touched on this, but I just want to, you know, if there's anything else, how has following Jesus helped you in your life?
Yeah, so obviously, I said that, like, sports and other things, like, from the world, they don't make my identity anymore. Like, I know who I am in Christ, and that's my identity is in Him. But it's also helped me just to, like, over everything else, like, whether today is good or bad, like, I always have the Word, and I always have prayer. Like, I always have Jesus to lean back onto, and I always have Him to talk to. And, like, whether things go good or bad, whether we win or lose, or whether I'm struggling with something or something's not going my way, like, I just have Jesus always. And, like, that just helps put into perspective, like, this life that we live, it's meaningful and it's impactful, but it is a blip here on earth. And we have eternity to spend with Jesus, and, like, we have that hope to look forward to. And seeing, and also it helps me to see people through God's lens of grace, not just, you know, through a human view. And it helps me to, you know, be kind and generous to everyone. And I try and be as kind as I can to everybody, even when it's hard.
Even when that's the truth right there. Even when it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible tells us, hey, you got to love your neighbor as yourself. You know, I think Jesus might even been saying with air quotes, you know, going, even when it's hard, you know what I mean? So
even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard, that's good stuff, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, now let's go to the other side of that. How has it been hard? And really, you can just kind of look at the last, you know, year to 18 months, because you said that was last year, right?
Yeah.
When you rededicated your life.
Rededicated was January.
Okay, this January. Okay, so let's go January to November. How has it been hard to follow Jesus? Because you know just as much as I do, everybody's not pulling in that same direction.
Yeah. So at school, it's definitely been, like, weird because you have. I've had to, like, when I rededicated, I had to adjust my language. I had to adjust some bad habits that I had built up, and, you know. Those things early on, it's kind of easy because you have that fire inside of you. Like, you're like, yes, like, this is what I want to do. But as you go on, that fire kind of goes out, and then you have to make the effort to feed the fire and, like, let it keep on going. So just putting away, like, those things and those bad things has kind of, it's not necessarily been a struggle, but it's been something that I've had to stay on top of. And then obviously a struggle is, you know, staying away from sin, staying away from those situations that can put you in that things like parties. And I know that's stereotypical, but I mean, that's just kind of like the area, the broad area that I'm shooting for. Just staying away from that kind of things and making sure you're hanging around the right people at the right time. And just, even if people don't follow you, there's a song, it says, like, even if no one else goes, I'm here. Like, if no one else goes with me, still I'm here. Like, that's just been, I've seen that in different places for sure.
Do you think you've seen people, you know, kind of look at you different, in good ways and bad ways too? Like, you know, hey, you're different than where you were in December. You know what I mean?
People have definitely told me that I'm different. Good. Nobody's really said anything about bad, but I have definitely heard a lot of, like, good. People told me I've changed in a good way, like, and that I've just become, you know, my walk in Christ has been great. And talking about bad things, I also want to talk about good things though, because, like, even being around those situations and being, like, the only one, like, going forward and following Jesus, I have also seen people come behind me and follow me, like, in my school and in my church and in my family. It's been really great to see that even when it's tough, like, you'll reap a harvest of blessings if you just stay consistent, stay with it.
Man, that's awesome, man. And the cool thing is, you know, just what God can do with us, as messed
Yeah,
up and as screwed up as we are. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Just that God can use us not only to grow closer to Him, but also to draw others to Him.
hmm,
That was one of the things that Jesus spoke of in Matthew 5 when He said, "Hey, you're the light of the world,"
yeah.
um, and that's what we're supposed to be, man. And I just love that you're doing that, especially at Glencoe, because I know you got good people around you there, like
Hmm.
Coach Talbot. I know he's doing middle school. Of course, are y'all doing middle school and high school FCA together now?
Yes, they come over to the new gym whenever we do
Okay, that's awesome. Then you got Coach Barkley and them too.
it.
And just so many good people, living for the Lord there for you. But man, I want to touch on one more thing because I want you to tell me why. I've got this verse right here for you. You said 1 Samuel 17:47, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna read it for everybody. I want you to kind of tell me why this is your favorite verse. All those gathered here will know that it is not by the sword or the spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and He will give all of you into our hands.
Yeah, so I love that verse. Obviously, it's First Samuel, it's David and Goliath.
Yep.
And I just love it. I love. It says that He's not going to save us by a sword or a spear. He's going to save us by the mighty power of God. Like this isn't my own doing. This isn't my own strength. That's going to take you down. And this isn't even talking about like sports. Like obviously you have your Goliaths in sports, like we just talked about. Like you have those big schools that you play in these tournaments that are obviously a lot bigger, like stronger. But you also have those Goliaths in life. Like you have those giants that stand in front of you and try and stand in your way. Like those mountains that like you just can't seem to move. And like you look at those things and like you're looking up at them and like they're so much bigger, but behind you is God and like He's your own giant. Like and he's more giant than anything that you could ever face. And like I love the confidence of David where he says, "This is the Lord's battle, and He will give you over to us." And that's just that just builds my confidence so much because the victory is already the Lord's. It's your faith that determines whether you're going to win or not, and that just speaks to me so wonderful.
Man, you are 100% right there. And Aiden, you have done a great job because this is all about Jesus, and speaking of His glory and just the impact that He's made on your life and my life and everybody's life out there if they allow Him to. And so
Hmm.
that's what before we close, I want to give everybody that opportunity, because we all are sinners. We've all messed up. We've all gone our own way and turned away from God. And the Bible says that separates us from God. And that the only way that we can ever get back in a right relationship with God is through His Son, Jesus. And what Jesus did for us, by coming and living a life that me and you couldn't, and then dying the death that we deserve, and beating the enemy that we couldn't beat when He got up out of the grave 3 days after He died. And that through Him, through His life, death, and resurrection, we have access back to a relationship with the King of Kings. And that's what I want to invite people to. If you don't know, the biggest questions in your life is, who is Jesus and what did you do with Him? And so you've got to make that decision. It's not something that you can just kind of tiptoe around, or, oh, hey, I'll do this later, because if you don't accept Jesus, you reject Him. It's kind of one of those double-sided things. A no answer is an answer. But if that's you, and if you are ready to put your faith in Jesus, there's going to be a website on the bottom of the screen. It's through FCA. It's the 4.fca.org, and you can go there and it'll walk you through salvation. But it's nothing magic prayer. It's not like Harry Potter, is what I always like to tell everybody. You don't have to say the words exactly right for it to work. It's just the attitude of your heart, repenting from your sin and where you were, and turning back to God, and claiming Him as Savior, but also claiming Him as Lord. I think a lot of people forget that too. We love Easter Jesus being the Savior, but He's got to be King too. He's got to be at the top.
Hmm.
We just want to invite everybody to do that. If you fill that out, fill out a connection card. Somebody from FCA will reach out to you, hopefully send you a Bible, and help you get plugged into a small group. Because that was one of the things, Aiden, that I love that you talked about was, not just after you rededicated your life, but it was all the little people and getting plugged in and being a part of the church that's helped you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, Aiden, thank you so much. Good luck in basketball season. We just said you just got done playing. You got a few days off. Go enjoy some turkey. Don't eat too much, though. They may make you run a little bit afterwards.
Hey, we got that Coach Moon practice on Friday.
Oh, the turkey burner, man. You gotta love it. Gotta love it.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
Aiden, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Help us share the gospel. Help get Aiden's story out there. Click that like and share button, and we will see you back next time. Thank you, guys, and God bless. All right, let's